And let's start with you. I want to ask you what you're seeing in terms of exit polling here tonight.
Well, we've been watching as the networks have been reporting out the exit polls, and MSNBC has done a thicker job of giving us a little bit of indicator of what's happening nationally with the voter mood. And a couple of things I will share with you. There was a lot of talk about Donald Trump's appeal to people who typically stayed out of the electoral process, that they were turned off and that his candidacy in particular were turning people on. Well, we have a piece of data that suggests maybe not so fast. Among first-time voters, people voting for the first time, 55% favor Hillary Clinton, 37% Donald Trump. Now, part of that is also the youth vote. And again, that's good news for Hillary Clinton in that she was trying to put together the Obama coalition of younger people, minorities, and women to give her the road to the White House. So that part is a piece of good news for Clinton. But overall opinion of Hillary Clinton still has her upside down. More unfavorables at 54% than favorable, 44%.
And I want to pick up on some of that data and delve a little deeper. Where do you think we may see the biggest surprise tonight? Your own polling of Iowa earlier this week showed him with a hefty 7-point lead there. Is there a state that we think the polling might be off and that could really give us a little bit of a jolt tonight? Well,
what we have are states where all of the polling was sort of back and forth around a tied candidacy. There are lots of things that can happen on Election Day in terms of bringing out turnout. What we've been watching a lot is Florida and looking specifically at the Hispanic vote there. So that might be a surprise from most of the polls showing Donald Trump winning. That's one of the key states I'm looking at tonight.
And you were mentioning how people feel about Hillary Clinton, the candidate. I wonder if any of that exit polling information giving you a sense of how voters felt about the email scandal in all its iterations here, resolving itself a couple of days ago, and the director of FBI saying that he has the same opinion that he had back in July.
And keep in mind that the exit poll not only captures opinion at the polls today, but it also talks to people who had been voting early, and they may or may not have been polled ahead or behind the announcement on Sunday. A question that was asked is, what are your thoughts on the Clinton email use? 45%, this is nationally, say they are bothered a lot. I mean, that's just a critical issue, and again, something that we know can affect votes.
There's been a lot of talk about early voting this race, Ann, and how that shifted the race. So you mentioned the Latino vote there. Across other demographics, African Americans, where are you seeing her really getting that surge of enthusiasm behind her in these last few days that may take over the line in states like Florida, perhaps even in Ohio?
Well, I don't have exit poll data in front of me that would say that. I will tell you anecdotally that one of the things that I heard that really struck a chord, that really sort of captures for me what's going on, is a reporter asking a respondent, so you're supporting Hillary Clinton, and the respondent corrected the reporter to say, I'm voting for her. That's different. So what you see in the enthusiasm, there shouldn't have been a difference there. So there still is kind of that hold that nose and vote.
Are we seeing that on the Republican side as well? Any anecdotal evidence there to back up the fact that there are Republicans here, too, voting for their party's nominee, maybe not as willingly as they have in the past?
Absolutely. And again, this is anecdotal, but a Republican friend of mine said that he went to the polls and he voted and he felt he had to come home and take a shower. But if he had voted for the other person, he would have needed to have drowned himself. So there's a lot of antipathy even as they're casting their votes.
All right, Ann, thank you very much. We'll be coming back to you throughout the night. Ann Selzer there, our pollster at the experts desk. I want to recap what we know from the 7 p.m. poll closings. Georgia, the AP projecting that the race is still too close to call in Georgia. In Virginia, the AP similarly projecting it is too close to call. Still to come in 7:30, polls close in Ohio, North Carolina, and West Virginia. The first two, they're big battleground states in this election. We'll have results in those states with 38 electoral votes up for grabs coming up. This is Bloomberg.